It's a Common Fan podcast. It's a celebration pod.
Woo!
Hello, boys.
Yeah! Heyo!
Hello. Good
Go
evening,
Big Red.
boys. I am TJ Burkle alongside Matty Owens Sr. and Geoff in Lincoln. How we doing tonight, boys?
Doing great, T.
Flying high, T.
It's the Sunday night after the Northwestern game. We're celebrating. I've got a little Big Red blend going here because the Huskers once again emerged victorious. That's two in a row. And on this pod, we celebrate all the W's, especially against, the last win before the bye week was against Illinois at fake Memorial Stadium. Yesterday was a great win against fake NU. There's only one NU, and I'll go so far as to say, boys, we will never lose to Northwestern again. Just another one of those second-rate programs that we talked about in the inaugural pod, just like the rest of the Big Ten West. Matt Rhule's got this thing humming. We're cooking. Watch out. A great win for the Huskers.
Oh, we got to love it, right, T? I mean, for me, walking out of the stadium, sometimes when there's, we barely hang on or there's an ugly win or something like that. I've walked out of that stadium enough times over the years. There's people grumbling and groaning. That didn't happen yesterday. A lot more smiles, a lot more yucking it up, and people just glad we closed that thing out.
Look, we don't have. Go ahead, Geoff. Go ahead.
We have a winning record.
Yeah.
Hello.
I mean, it's been a while. It feels pretty good to be above 500.
We are above 500, baby.
In late October, no less.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have the luxury of taking any wins for granted, I think we're going to complain plenty about the offense in this pod, by the way.
Yeah, we will.
We don't have the luxury of. It's one thing to talk about what needs to be better, but it's a different thing to allow that to stop you from enjoying a win. That just makes no sense. We have, with what we've been through the last 8 years as a fan base, celebrate all the W's, baby.
Celebrate the victories.
And, the vibe, I think, too, last year, not to get into last year too much, but I think about last year when, what would he start off 1-2, and then Frost got fired after the Georgia Southern game. Then we lost to Oklahoma, and we're 1-3,
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of felt like this thing is going to run off the rails. This is a disaster. And then they won 2-0. They beat Indiana and then Rutgers, right?
Right.
And Mickey, they kind of rallied around Mickey, and Bill Bush took over the defense, and they were playing better and tougher and all that. But even with that, and even with the hope that brought, maybe seeing those seeing those wins and saying, okay, well, maybe this D can keep us in some games. It sort of felt like, but this is another transition year. We have no idea what they're going to do with the head coach. It's probably not going to be Mickey. So we're like, it's going to be up and down. It's going to be ugly at times. And it was, and it's like, this isn't even in service of building something greater. This is just, so now at least
all for nothing.
Truly interim.
Yeah. And so now at least we're 4-3. We have a real shot at a bowl game. And so obviously that's, reaching toward that is the exciting part, but also when the offense does struggle, when, inevitably there are more bumps in the road, you can see they're trying to build something, and Rhule's got, you can see the foundation he wants to build, and it's just a totally different vibe.
Totally different vibe. Totally. And I think we'll probably get into this too, but and I read some of this. There's at least a couple people on Twitter as I'm scrolling through, just talking about how, it's Rhule's first year, but we'd rather have the defense carrying the team versus the offense, right? To me, that's a more long-term, okay, we can see what's being built already year one. The offense, you can get pieces in and you can fix that part, right? Because I think would most of us agree there's a real lack of depth there, and that's part of the problem, right?
Absolutely.
And that's not even getting into the injuries. I mean, there was a lack of depth before we even had all these injuries, and now we're still dealing with it. But I think the fact that, we're a defensive team, the defense is going to carry us. If we can just find a way to not just take care of the ball, but score 2-3 touchdowns a game, we're going to be in good shape.
And look, I've seen people on Twitter suggesting they feel like that we could win every game left on our schedule. No one would be more excited about that than these three common fans. But again, the benchmark for me this year is a bowl game. Get me to the Vandelay Industries Bowl on December 14th at 10 a.m. I don't care what it is, and we're dancing in the streets. And we win that sixth game. And I really, I think we talked about this on the first pod. I really want to have that sixth win before Iowa, and not have our bowl hopes contingent on the Iowa game. But man, if we can find 2 more wins before the Iowa game, this season is a smashing success. And it's a little sad considering how great our history is. But that's where we are as a program, and we're step 1 is getting back to a bowl game.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, real quick before we forget, give us a follow on Twitter at CommonFanGBR. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you, and that's CommonFanGBR@gmail.com. We got an email from Keegan telling us he loves the show. So thank you, Keegan. Keep listening. Appreciate it, buddy. Also have had a ton of fun engaging through the Twitter account on Twitter. Hats off to Common Fan OG Joe Ritz, who gave us a plug on Twitter, said that he was listening to the pod while mowing the lawn. Obviously, all Common fans love to listen to the pod while they're doing chores in the yard. So hats off to Joe. And then everybody who sent picks this weekend, we put out the call to Husker Nation on Saturday morning, a few hours before kickoff. And we said, hey, folks, send us a picture of where you're watching the game from. And we got a pretty good response to that. It was pretty,
the roll call was great.
The roll call was a lot of fun this week. So thanks for everyone who did that. Several of the folks who shared picks were at the game. It wasn't necessarily meant to be just for people at the game. If you're at a bar, if you're gathering with friends, if you're at a potluck, and in fact, we included the phrase potluck in the tweet. What do you guys think about a good potluck? To me, there's nothing better than a good potluck. We don't have to spend too much time on this, but when I tweeted that out, I found myself, all I want is to be surrounded by friends and 18 crock pots.
Yep.
At a good
you want to
potluck.
You want to see somebody spread. Somebody's going to bring the little smokies. But you know what?
Cheese dip.
Oh yes. You know what I love at a potluck? Somebody brings a real good buffalo chicken dip. Oh, get right out of town. I mean, I will be, and I'll pay for it the next day. But I will scarf buffalo chicken dip.
The buffalo chicken dip can be your main course at a potluck.
Absolutely. You've got protein and dairy in there.
The only thing, and Geoff and Lincoln, no surprise, is scoffing. So who knows what he's going to drop.
I know what he's going to say.
But the only challenge at a potluck is like you want to like get your fill of everything, and you kind of have to, you can't roll around in the dirt on every dish. Sometimes you just have to sniff the dirt a little bit. If you know what I mean?
I have a theory on it, and then I think Geoff's probably got something to say too. But
I've got something to say.
When you usually, for me, what my line of thinking is, and this is me being an eternal optimist, is when there's a potluck, nobody wants to bring something that sucks, right? So usually people are bringing their A game to a potluck. They don't want to be like, oh God, who brought the god awful 7-layer bean dip or whatever? That stuff's terrible. Nobody wants that. Right. So usually, were those potatoes cold? usually somebody's bringing their A game. And especially if wives are involved, because that's, ultimately, like, that, let's face it, if something's being homemade, your wife's making it, even if she's not going, she's sending it with you, and still doesn't want to be embarrassed with how bad that dish could be.
The other thing you get at a potluck, and sorry, Geoff, then you can talk, is fantastic, fantastic assortment of desserts, especially baked goods. So you got cookies, a lot of cookies and brownies, maybe even the occasional pan of kolaches.
Oh yeah,
a good kolache
or scotcheroo.
Somebody's always bringing scotcheroos, and so you can live and die just at the dessert table. That's the other thing that's like your gut is already busting because you've had 7 wings and a whole plate of buffalo chicken cheese dip and probably a sloppy joe and who knows what else, and you haven't even started on the desserts, but you're like, when am I going to get this opportunity again? I've got to embrace the dessert table now.
Well, and if there's a Husker game on, you're also nervous eating too, right? And just like you're pacing, you're not even sitting down. Like you're holding the plate in your hand, standing there watching the game. Are you not?
You're not even paying attention to how full you are.
No.
First of all, I don't ever nervous eat at a Husker game. I nervous drink. Like I don't know what it is, but I can't
That's a
eat
given.
when I'm nervous. I can't eat when I'm nervous. It's either alcohol or nothing. Second of all, I'm going to say something that's probably really controversial to both of you and everybody listening. But I hate potlucks. I think they're freaking disgusting. They're gross. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. First of all, usually when you're at a potluck and you're hanging out with your friends, yeah, you know a lot of them. I don't know where they're preparing this food at. I don't know what the conditions are or where they're preparing this food. But I don't know how they're making it. It's not being done in front of me. I just don't know. I don't trust it.
So you're going to game watching parties with people that have been on the actual show Hoarders, apparently, and he's just
there's like it's some sort of sweatshop from 2 weeks ago or something.
It's gross to me. Second of all, a lot of times these potlucks are outside, and there's just flies. There's flies on everything. I can't stand it. Like, ask my wife, ask anybody you know. If we go out to eat and they say we need to eat outside or do I want to eat outside, it's an immediate no. I'd rather wait 45 minutes to an hour for an inside table rather than get an immediate table outside. I can't stand eating outdoors. It's gross. It's barbaric. Heat.
Geoff.
The heat and food. Just hold on. All right. Hold on a second. I'm not done yet. Eating outside in the heat with like anything that has any sort of dairy or, Owens, you've said it, mayonnaise-based potato salad.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in the sun for hours on end. I just remember this as a kid going to family reunions and seeing Tupperware of German potato salad just at room temperature, screaming food temperature danger zone. I can't believe I didn't get sick growing up in my family with some of these potluck dinners. Potlucks are disgusting. They're overrated. I cannot stand them. I know the people listening are going to hate this. I'm sure you two hate me even more, but they're gross. And I'm going to die on that hill.
Let me ask you this. Why do you hate America?
When did you become a communist, Geoff?
And that's pinwheels. You guys know these pinwheel things?
Oh, yeah.
I actually, the pinwheels I could take or leave. They're fine.
Yeah.
But, next thing you know, you're going to tell us you're a Notre Dame fan or something weird like that.
Jeez.
I was going to say Notre Dame's got depth in all of their offensive positions.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, we're not.
No, we know the rules, Geoff. We've been through this.
Yeah, no one. We don't discuss the
Irish.
Irish.
All right, fine. We won't talk about it.
I bet you'd go to a Notre Dame potluck.
Oh, yeah. It's an Italian sweater around your shoulders.
Hold on. I went to the USC Notre Dame game in 2017 with a good buddy of mine. We went to a tailgate there, and they did almost like a potluck grill, had food ready to go. And I don't know who the people were. I hope it wasn't like a close family friend of who I was with. But these people cooked brats in probably like, I want to say 5 minutes. And that alone was a red flag to me. And I took a bite out of a brat at a Notre Dame tailgate, and the inside of it was still blood red. And things like experiences like that are why I hate potlucks and why I hate this communal eating thing. It grosses me out. It's
at least you're an equal opportunity potluck hater. I mean, I guess that's
I'm being fair. Yep, exactly.
That's fair. I want to call out one other thing. Let's move on from the potluck discussion.
I'm not done.
Too divisive.
Common fans, if you're listening, do not invite Geoff and Lincoln to your next potluck or any potluck, apparently. Listen, we're going to apologize in advance to Nebraska offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield. One, because we're going to bash on his offense in a minute. And two, because we know he's listening. He's obviously listening, and he listens to the pod. Because the Huskers' probably most exciting play, arguably most important play, one of their 2 touchdowns came from the option pass, the good old-fashioned option pass, and we had multiple common fan listeners reach out and point out that MattyO had called for the old school option pass
Yep.
in one of the midseason review pods. And sure enough, what do you know? What do you see? Is the next game the Huskers play. Not only do they run the option pass, they run it beautifully. It's a 44-yard touchdown from Heinrich Harburg to Malachi Coleman. Touchdown Huskers. Hats off to MattyO for basically winning this game for the Huskers.
You're welcome.
Yep.
You're welcome, Husker
Thank
Nation.
you, Matt.
Now, the question is Satterfield listening? I don't know if you heard the explanation behind that play. Is Tom Osborne listening? That play came from T.O. He came in. They said he came in and he said, "Hey, if you guys are going to run the belly option, you got to run the belly G pass." Apparently, that's what it's called. For those of us that are less technical, we'll just continue to call it the option pass. There are several variations of that pass that could be run, but one of the things that I wrote down for that game for me, it was the 3 B's: black shirts, belly G pass, Battlestar Galactica, go Big Red.
Look, I think
but Coach Osborne, we love you, and you obviously are an absolute legend. Thank you for listening to the pod.
Thank you for listening, Coach Osborne. And we were happy to sort of remind you of that play that you ran many times. We have to assume he's listening, guys, because what was his rep? The guy lived and breathed the job of being head coach of Nebraska football. He'd work 12, 14, 16 hours a day. He watched film. He left no stone unturned, very detail oriented. So we can only assume he's listening to the
Absolutely. But how great is that? How much proof is that some things in football are just timeless? Like the guy just comes in and says, "Hey, you're running this. Like this is probably going to work." And sure as hell it works. And it gets like our stud true freshman receiver from Lincoln, his first touchdown on like a sweet, basically game clinching touchdown bomb.
How cool was it that, quarterback Heinrich Harburg from Kearney Catholic connects with, Lincoln East Spartan Malachi Coleman, both Nebraska boys. And like you said, Matt, clinching they ended up being the game clinching touchdown. Just awesome. Just fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I'll be honest. I was a little misty-eyed up in North Stadium when that happened, and I said I turned to my son, and he had no idea what I was talking about. But I'm like, "Oh my God, option pass!" And he's looking at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "I'll talk to you about it later."
Well, unfortunately, and this brings us to our first major agenda item. Unfortunately, that was one of the few highlights.
One of the few bright spots
for the offense this week. Let's talk about this offense. I think both of these things can be true, gentlemen. I think at least the three of us, and a good chunk, I would say the vast majority of Husker Nation believes Matt Rhule is the right guy for this job.
100%.
He's the right guy for the job because of his philosophy. He believes in playing stout defense, running the ball, stopping the run. For all of those reasons, we're also at a point in time in the program where we really are in a rebuilding phase, really starting from scratch. Sad as it is, we've covered that ground before, but Rhule is a builder, and he's got a process that has worked in two other occasions at the college level. Matt Rhule is the right guy for the job. We all believe in Coach Rhule. So that's one. Two, also true. Even in the first year of a new staff, even with all of the injuries, the performance of this offense is really not acceptable.
Right.
That's my
right.
What do you guys think?
Well, there's a couple. There's a few things for me that absolutely are unacceptable. One of the unacceptable things is a quarterback should never drop a snap.
No,
and I think Heine did that again on Saturday. And the other thing is we can't. I don't care what year your staff is in. We can't fumble handoffs. Like that's happened. And then like some of it's not just the kids making mistakes either. Like we're in our first series on offense, and we're pinned down there our own end zone at our backs, and the first play they call is a drop back pass for Harburg. He throws a pick on the first damn offensive play. Like I get that our defense is sweet, but we don't need to be like putting them in those positions. I mean, they had Northwestern's first three possessions started on our side of the field. we were damn lucky to be down 3-0 after those 3 possessions. Like it could have easily been 21-0, 17-0. Like, thank God our defense is good enough. I mean, I think through 2 of those possessions, they had actually had like -6 total yards. Like that's not going to happen when, I mean, even with Purdue, it's not going to happen, or even lowly Michigan State right now. That they are down in the dumps in the mud right now. But you can't depend on that type of stuff to happen the rest of the season.
That's such a good point. Northwestern came into the game as a team that had struggled to stop the run. I think that's what drives me nuts. Is we all. I don't want the Huskers. I don't want us to be Iowa and Minnesota and what Northwestern has been for the last 10 years. I would like us to be more explosive. I would like us to throw the ball around a little bit more. I don't think all of Husker Nation is just complete and total run the ball guy or run the option like we did in the 90s. But we do know the value of being a run first team and establishing the run and getting those 2 yards when you need to get 2 yards. And I just don't understand. Not only did they call a pass on the first play, but like you said, Matt, it was a straight drop back. You don't even roll him out and give him an easy dump off or an easy screen play, something to get him going, get the offense going, get that first play under your belt. I would have preferred to see some sort of run. But it was just disappointing. And actually, I mean, I will say, I think about 3 guys were open on that play.
Yeah.
Including the guy he was trying to throw it to, which I think was Fedoni, but Emmett Johnson was open. And I think it may be Alex Bullock, unless I missed a guy on the back end. I think Alex Bullock got behind the defense as well. So some guys were open, but I just hate the idea of the wind is a factor that day. The one thing we've done well on offense has been, some sort of either run with the quarterback or, you run an option or just hand it off, whatever. Like you felt like they should come out of the bye week with sort of a narrowed down. We talked about this on the midseason review pod, narrow down the menu a little bit, figure out what we're going to be really good at. That doesn't mean you can't throw it up every now and then, but like, we don't have to like catch teams off guard. Like they know we're going to run the ball. Let's run the ball. And instead, you hand it to Northwestern on the first, you negate the advantage of receiving the kick to begin the game completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I noticed too is, and I think they brought it up during the game too, is when they drop back like that on the first play, they pointed out that after the fact, if he rolls out, just roll him out, he's more accurate just on the run like that than he is just dropping straight back. So part of me wonders is play calling is an issue, obviously, but how come, why the heck can we not just, I don't understand play calling wise why we can't just figure that out, or why that was, like you said, coming off of bye week, TJ, how we didn't already have that plan in place. Like, do you think that our plan was to initially just air it out immediately, or is that something that,
I mean, they're probably going, don't you think, even considering the situation pinned down, the only thing I could think of, there's 2 things that I thought of was they've got to still be going with their script. Like that's that part is okay. They wanted to stick to the script. Okay. That was what they wanted to do the first play. I still don't think maybe that's the best idea. But then the other thing that I thought of was a lot of times when there's a new coaching staff at a school, I kind of feel like, although I think they've done a great job of not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, I think that there still is that tendency of like, okay, we got to show the quarterbacks we're recruiting, the receivers that we're recruiting, like, yeah, we're trying to throw the ball, but we can't because we don't have guys like you. That's sometimes I think that still creeps into the situation. Really? And maybe I'm wrong, but when you're trying to get a stud receiver to come play ball and he's like, well, you're going to have me block the whole game. Like, I still think there is some of that. So I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's interesting. I've never even thought of that before, but that's an interesting look at it, Owen.
It's whatever it is, it's just not good enough. And I know, again, I know they've had a ton of injuries, and I always give whatever coach it is the benefit of the doubt. All of these guys have forgotten more about football than we'll ever know, but it's just baffling that we didn't come out, especially the way like we saw Emmett Johnson run and Anthony Grant, like they were able to break some runs. We know Harburg, can run the option. I just think you just don't need to come out with that, and then you throw the pick, and then you're behind the 8 ball, and then the defense played great. We got the 3. I think we got the 3 and out, but then they punt it and they pin us back to the 1 yard line or the 1 inch line, basically.
Yeah.
And then so the next drive is basically, you got to run. Your first play is basically, let's push Harburg forward for a yard or two as much as we can get. You're kind of screwed on the second drive, and it just set a tone of starting the complete opposite way we would have wanted to start, right? Even if we're playing a field position game, even if we're not getting points right away, let's emphasize getting 2 or 3 first downs. And then if we have to punt the ball, we flip the field and our outstanding defense can make a stop. And then we're winning the field position game at least. And we're putting ourselves in a better, situation to get points.
Right. Right. And that's sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just thought that once we finally did get out of our own territory and we went down, and remember we kicked a field goal, tied it up 3-3. I turned to Matty Jr. and I said, the biggest thing about that was, yeah, great, we got points, but we basically flipped the field by doing that, because we were kind of just stuck down there for those first few possessions. So to me, the biggest thing was even if we didn't score there, get out of there so we can get field position game back kind of more balanced, or maybe even in our favor, because it's with an offense that struggles that bad, that can be so backbreaking if you can't get that field flipped.
Yeah. Well, and the concern when the offense is that bad to me is the margin for error is so small. And so it feels like you can never put a team away. So even, the Huskers score to go up 17-6 on the play called by MattyO and Senior. Obviously, not only Marcus Satterfield, but Tom Osborne listening to the pod decide that that's what the Huskers need to do. The Huskers score. You're welcome, Common fans. So then on the following drive, Northwestern hits the big pass down the sideline. Hartzog got beat on that one. Credit to him for hustling to prevent a TD on that play.
Yeah,
and then he also made a huge stop on third down on the following.
On a bigger series. Guy too. I was so impressed with that. I think it was a tight end, and I'm like, oh crap, you never know how this is going to go. Smaller DB trying to tackle a tight end, but he went low and took him down. And that was Hartzog made a huge play running that guy down, and I think it was earlier. They broke that run they got a leak in the D, and they broke a long run, and Omar Brown chased that guy down and tackled him. That's 2 plays where if our hearts aren't in it, they maybe don't go all out and try to run those guys down, and that's a touchdown. Well, and look what happens. They don't even get in the end zone on the day, because 2 times we had guys run them down and tackle them and keep them out of the end zone, and then we end up holding them for field goals.
Well, and that's the point I was trying to make, is that the D, and credit to the D just for the all-out effort and execution and just being as good as they are. But even great defenses are going to give up bust plays. It's going to happen. There are going to be games when those plays get into the end zone instead of just end up as field goals or end up as punts or whatever. And the offense is so bad that all it takes is 1 or 2 big plays like that, and the other team is either still hanging around or they've retaken the lead. And so I feel like that's going to bite us eventually. Hopefully it doesn't bite us enough times to keep us out of the Vandelay Industries Bowl. But that's just the thing that just makes you want to pull your hair out as a Husker fan, is this defense is so good. Hats off to Tony White. Pay the man Matt Rhule. Pay the man Trev Alberts. Bring this guy back for years to come. This defense is outstanding, but I really hope the offense being so inept doesn't end up costing us a bowl game.
Yeah. Well, I think you said, TJ, for the Illinois game, we were talking about it and recapping that. And I think for a minute there, I think it was 10-7 or something like that. And it was we're clearly controlling this game, but it's one big play and we're losing. And I had that in my head when it was 10-6 yesterday against Northwestern. And I'm like, man, if they get one big play and we're down 13-10, what's going to happen here? Because it's really tough sledding for us moving the ball. Yeah. So praise God, we didn't have to worry about it.
Let's not stay on the negativity too long.
No.
Satterfield, figure it out. Listen, email the show, commonfangbr@gmail.com if you want more play suggestions. Obviously, MattyO and all of us are here to help out with that. We were here for the 90s. We know.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of.
You out. We can
You know
help
what?
you out. We have a lot of good ideas.
I coached an undefeated first grade NFL play 60 flag football team this year. So I do have a few plays up the sleeve. So Coach Sat, Dr. Tom, if you guys want some more suggestions, let me know.
Yeah, just email the show, give us a call, whatever.
I've won a mini NCAA football early PlayStation 2 tournaments back in the day. So yeah, if you need any advice, please let me know.
Yeah, was it set on the lowest difficulty level though, Geoff?
Yeah, there's only 5-minute quarters too.
Just 4 verts every single play. 4 verts. Everybody go deep.
A
championship's a championship, and hats off to you. One more thing on the offense, guys. This is going to blow your mind. I looked up. I was looking at some stats this evening. So the Huskers currently come in nationally at 107th in total offense. How many Big Ten? We are in front of multiple Big Ten teams, and we are ahead of multiple Big Ten teams in that category. How many do you think we're ahead of?
I'm gonna guess. Oh gosh, I feel like this is a trick question, but I'm thinking Iowa, and I'm thinking maybe Indiana.
I thought Iowa for sure.
I don't know, probably Michigan. I don't know, 4.
Geoff, do you have a guess?
I'm gonna say 2. I was gonna say Iowa, and probably is it Michigan State? Maybe I don't even know how many points they've scored this year.
You guys both have accurately picked some of them. We're ahead of 6 Big Ten teams
what
in the total offense category. Huskers come in at 107. Rutgers is 109.
Oh,
Michigan State, correct, Geoff, is 112. Indiana, MattyO is 118. Minnesota, a second-rate program that we should have beat, is 123. Gosh. Northwestern is 126. And Iowa is dead last in all.
Wow.
Across all the land.
Wow. I feel so sorry for them.
At 133. I don't feel sorry for them.
No, I'm just kidding. Absolutely not.
So, we're middle of the pack in the conference, guys. Let's not be too hard.
Hey, all right. All right.
All right. Let's move to some highlights here. Because again, we celebrate all the W's, and we're 4-3. We got a winning record in late October. We're on track for the Vandelay Industries Bowl. And first of all, we've mentioned it already tonight. Defense outstanding once again. Looked at some stats for this too. We're number 21 in total defense nationally at this moment in time. The day after the Northwestern game. Where do you think we are in rushing defense nationally?
Top 20.
We are in the top 5.
Hey, I'll be damned.
What number do you think we are?
5.
4.
We are 5. We are 5. I shouldn't have narrowed it down to 5 only, but fifth in rushing defense. Like, just how good does that feel to say? How good does that feel?
That's incredible
to see. Yeah. A couple other nuggets that I thought Husker fans would appreciate. We're number 26 in scoring defense, so right outside the top 25. And then this one, number 11 in total sacks. Who doesn't love?
No, I love that part.
Love being able to get after the quarterback.
Well, look at that last series for us at the end of the game. We're not playing any sort of prevent defense, just bringing the house every play. That was awesome.
Oh my gosh, I loved it, guys. I loved it.
So great, and it worked, and it was effective.
Yeah,
and also just, the guy who is putting his mark on this season and is a joy to watch is the polar bear.
Yes.
Nash Hutmaker is all over the field. The guy was undefeated in 4 years as a high school wrestler, and he moves well. He's a beast. He's so strong. He can't be moved. And he's kind of, I think it took him a couple, like it takes anybody, especially at the O-line and D-line level. You got to build up your strength. You got to adjust to the D1 level, but he's just dominating.
Yeah. Now. Oh, he's playing really, really well. And as a former defensive tackle myself, I just love it. I can't get enough of it. It is borderline erotic to me.
I almost spit out my big red blend there.
D-line play. You can't beat good D-line play. Oh,
I mean, and you
sign
mentioned
me up.
Did you say he's a former wrestler too?
Yes, he is.
In high school, at least. I mean,
High school out of South
I mean,
Dakota.
I mean, you got to be tough for that. He's probably dealt with ringworm and cauliflower ear and all that stuff. I mean, that sounds like one tough SOB.
He absolutely is. And in addition to the ringworm and cauliflower, he just beat a lot of guys in wrestling.
Yeah.
Here's another. I wanted to point out. I think a key drive. Obviously, the option pass, touchdown pass to go up 17-6, as called by MattyO, gave us some distance, some breathing room, and really helped. Kind of, I feel like helped us feel like we were in the driver's seat. I think the first touchdown drive was as important or more important. So Northwestern kicks a field goal to go up 6-3. We're getting late in the second quarter. We get the ball back on the kickoff and start our drive with 5:41 left on the clock. We go down the field with a steady diet of Emmett Johnson runs. Hats off to Emmett Johnson, by the way. That kid looks fantastic. A few well-timed and well-executed completions. I think Fedoni had a catch or two on that drive. I think Bullock had one. But those were much more like they looked like, manageable throws. And they got us, they helped us stay on schedule. And then I think it was a 1st and 10, but it was a big 20-yard run from Harburg that got us inside the 10-yard line, 1st and goal. And then we punch it in. When Harburg scores, it's 23 seconds left. So we get the ball at the 5:41 mark. We take almost all the rest of the time off the clock and then score with 23 seconds left, go into halftime up 10-6. We would never relinquish the lead after that. But this speaks to that kind of area of the game that I think Coach Rhule has talked about, and it's an area that Husker teams of recent years have lost repeatedly. But it's winning the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. So my recollection of the entire third quarter was that it was just a big mushy bowl of, I don't know if there's a word that combines boring and disgusting, that was kind of the whole third quarter. So the first 4 minutes of the second half were kind of like whatever, but again, D making stops at least, right?
Yeah.
And that last 4 minutes of the first half, we basically executed. We held onto the ball. We didn't give it back to them with time to do anything. We scored a touchdown. We not only got into the red zone, we not only got points, but we scored a touchdown. We took the lead. We took the momentum into halftime. That was extremely important in this game. And I think those are the kinds of game management things we really haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see, again, when we talk about the beginnings of a foundation, those are the things that win you games. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think you're spot on. And just like it's I remember early on before the season, I think it might have even been back in the spring. One of the high school coaches here in Nebraska, and I can't remember where it was from, but had said something to the effect of the adults are in charge now. And I keep watching these games, and there's situations in each game, right? Every game's different. But it feels to me like these guys have been around the block and they know how to manage a game. They know what should be happening, right, at every stage of the game. And that's, for me, just so reassuring, especially, going back through the last 5-6 years where the game management, clock management, timeout management, onside kicks up 11 points, like
Yep.
You had to go there.
What coaching strategy playbook are you getting some of this stuff from? Whereas with these guys, it's kind of like, oh yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. Makes sense to take a timeout here. Like I remember some guy behind me grumbling because it was on the Northwestern's last series of the game, and some guy was grumbling because we called timeout because I was 3rd or 4th down, and I'm like, hell yes, take a timeout. Make sure you're set and you know what to do if they come out in certain sets on offense. Absolutely take a timeout. We've got 3. They're almost out of it. He's probably thinking, well, Northwestern doesn't have any. They got one timeout. I can't remember what it was, but it's like, no. Would you rather have them take a timeout and know when the kids know what they're supposed to do out there, or just try to let it fly? And so I'm all for it. I'm all for the game management. I think Absolutely. If we can win the last 4 of the first half and win the first 4 minutes of the second half, we're going to be in pretty good shape.
I agree with you, Matt. And I can't say that I felt this confident since, God, it's been a while, but you brought it up, not to go too far into the past, but over the last few years, just whenever something would happen, a big chunk play in previous seasons where, for instance, like Northwestern game, the big run that they broke off, or that big pass play after Coleman scored, whenever there was a huge play the opposite team pulled off against us in years past, I felt like our team would just melt down, whether it was the players or the
Yeah, it
coaches,
would
like they got in their
shrivel.
own heads. They freaked out. They're like, oh, it's
Snowball.
happening again. It's
Yep,
happening
snowball.
again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I don't have that feeling anymore. Like, even though they broke off that big run and that big pass play, I was still confident enough knowing that we're still going to try. We're going to hang in there. But in years past, I did not have that confidence at all. So that's refreshing. So I agree.
No, it feels like they're almost like the mindset of like, hey, you know, we told you this could happen. Now here's what we do to prepare. Here's what we do to stop this or fix it. That's what it feels like. It just watching it as a common fan, as a casual observer, it just feels like they're more prepared for just about any given situation that's thrown at them.
Well, and I think go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
No, that's all I got.
I think they're doing a great job of addressing these things head on, knowing that it's been a problem in the program, and trying to get these guys to see in 4 quarters, in 60 minutes of football, things are going to go, there's going to be swings and there's going to be runs and things are going to go your way and then they're not going to go your way. And they can sort of address this stuff out front. They talk about it in practice and they sort of get out in front of it and say, like, talking, you know, they're teaching them to be resilient and they're teaching them, you know, to close out these games. And that's what we're seeing. I don't want to go too far into the past, like you guys said. I remember for the longest time, and we all, you know, still shocking to me that the Frost era did not work out. And for the longest time, I would come up with reasons, well, you know, this is better or that's better or whatever. But ultimately, it came down to they kept losing close games. Something's got to be off. A focus on details. There's got to be some sort of culture issue. Something is off. And I didn't want to believe that. And a lot of us didn't want to believe that. But I think ultimately it was true. And I think what we're seeing early on from Rhule is the complete opposite, where he's focused on every detail and he's focused. He addresses problems head on and he doesn't let things linger. And we're starting to see that with games being closed out. Oh, excuse me. I just had to mute for common fans. I just had to mute and like almost hawk up a lung. So I almost didn't get that sentence up. Sorry, guys. That does transition. That's the last point I wanted to make, just on the sort of positive, and the highlight is we're 4-3, boys. Okay. All 4 of those wins have not been blowouts. They've all been games that we, you know, could have conceivably lost in the not too distant past. 2 of the 4 of them are conference games against conference foes that Husker fans always feel like we should beat year in and year out, but we haven't too often in recent years. And we got the job done. Let's end where we started.
Yeah.
Right. And that is we celebrate all the W's. Whatever Coach Rhule is doing, he's got these guys believing. Certain parts of it are still ugly. They don't have all the pieces in year one. We should probably be prepared for a little bit more of a roller coaster in the last 5 games, right?
Absolutely.
But they're 4-3. We're on track for the something bowl, the something.com bowl, whatever it might be, the Vandelay Industries Bowl. We've put ourselves in this position. And it's year 1. I know everyone is sick of feeling like we're rebuilding and feeling like we're building towards something. And we just want to be in a game where we're a top 10 team playing another top 10 team. And we don't have to worry about, you know, simple things like snaps being executed, but we're just we're not there yet. And it starts with building a foundation.
Yeah.
And so Coach Rhule is I firmly believe he's building that foundation. And you know, the defense is ahead of the offense right now, but we are on the path to getting this thing back to where it needs to be.
Right. And I think big, 20, 30,000 foot view on this thing. Take a look at our surroundings, right? Like, really, for me, couldn't be a better year in our conference, especially in our division, to have a first year coaching staff with how just
for sure
bad the Big Ten West is. I mean, let's be real about it. There's almost every single team is very similar to us. I mean, pretty good defenses, tackle well, usually fundamentally fairly good, but really, really challenged on the offensive side of the ball. And there, I mean, I got to see a little bit of Iowa, the very end of it, saw the controversial stuff, but what Iowa fans are complaining about this call by the refs, but they had 2 yards of offense the whole second half, 2 yards.
Yeah.
And you're going to complain that you lost because of a questionable call. Yeah, it was a questionable call, but have more than 2 yards, and then maybe you can complain a little bit more. The Big Ten West is just so bad. And for us, for Nebraska, it works out great. It's a perfect storm. Because we kind of referenced it earlier, but even when we did our midseason review, we're looking at it like we're picking. We picked a couple of losses. I'm not so sure we can't beat Maryland and Wisconsin now. Like, who's to say we don't?
What I saw on Saturday, no.
I mean, Wisconsin's not, to me, not nearly as going to Wisconsin and winning, to me, not nearly as daunting as it was 2-3 weeks ago. And in their quarterback, what's his name? It's escaping me right now. Wisconsin's quarterback, the guy, Mordecai. I don't know.
Tanner Mordecai.
Anyway,
Mordecai.
Anyway, he's out.
Didn't he break his hand or something?
He's out, and I don't know if how long he's going to be out, but yeah, that's a factor. But still, like, I don't look, and I think Rhule even said this before the Northwestern game, was like, we can beat every team that's left on our schedule, and every team that's left on our schedule can beat us. Like,
so this brings up an interesting point that we've talked about on the broader text chain with the guys. We could still win the West.
Yeah.
Now,
do we want
to win the West? we all
Let's
agree,
finish second.
We all agree we want to get to a bowl game. I'm not sure we want to win the West.
But you know what?
Am I allowed to say that out loud?
I don't know, because I was talking to my son about this, and I'm like, I don't, we were talking, me and the guys were talking about this. I don't know if we want to win the West, and we just go get killed by Michigan, most likely Michigan, but could be Ohio State. And he's like, he looks at me like, what are you saying? Like, why wouldn't you at least want a chance to be in that game? Like, you're trying to raise me to like never think you're going into a game that you're going to lose. And I'm like, well, dang it, he's got a point. Like, they don't play the games on paper, and weird things happen. Like, the ball bounces weird ways sometimes. And I'm like, gosh, maybe the kid's right. Like, if we made it to the Big Ten championship game in year one with Rhule, even if we get smoked, isn't that like, hey, we made it to the championship game, we won the West?
We want to win the West.
So I don't know. I'm. It's a slippery slope for me, because I don't want to get embarrassed by Michigan on national TV again. But
it already happened.
It's tough to beat the same team twice in 1 year, right, boys?
Exactly.
That's a good point, both of you, and I'll tuck my tail and run here. But I mean, that's a really good point. It's year one of Coach Rhule. We've had half the starters on offense have either left the team or been injured. And so I think people would sort of probably not have a lot of expectations for Nebraska. But I mean, think about what kind of potlucks we could have on the night of the Big Ten championship.
A 5-gallon bucket of buffalo chicken dip.
At least it wouldn't be 95 degrees outside with mayonnaise-based foods all over the place.
True.
Yeah, it would be an indoor potluck, okay? Because it'd be in the first weekend of December.
No flies, thank God.
Yeah, the baked goods would be off the hook. The baked goods would be off the hook. Probably some Valentinos. Definitely some sloppy joes. I mean, the whole place would just smell like heaven. Crock pots
sloppy
everywhere.
Are
you can't beat it.
Too. Don't get me started on sloppy joes either. They're not very good. I'm sorry. Let's keep going with the pod. We'll talk about the Huskers. Sloppy joes are gross, though.
What did you just say?
Dang it, Geoff. Impromptu meeting of the Common Fan Board of Directors emergency meeting coming directly after this recording of the pod.
I should take that back. They're not gross, but like have you ever just been like, I could really go for a sloppy Joe right now? Ever? Have you?
That's a fair. Sloppy Joes are not for everyone.
I'll eat them.
If sloppy Joes, if sloppy Joes are present, I'm eating 3 of them.
If sloppy Joes are present, I would eat them. But I would never just be like, hey kids, you guys, I'm gonna make some sloppy Joes tonight. I'm just not.
That's fair.
No. Next thing you're going to tell me is you hate a barbecue pulled pork sandwich, Geoff. What the hell's the matter with you?
I'm not. I love pulled pork sandwiches. I cooked one on the smoker just a couple weeks ago. It's delicious.
Do you like living in a free society, Geoff? Do you like living in America?
God bless America. Where I have the freedom to choose what I like and what I don't like.
Fair point.
Thank you.
But
I did hear Geoff on the phone the other day. And it sounded like maybe he was speaking Russian, but I can't totally be sure because I'm not a language expert. Just saying, I don't know what that means or anything, but discuss.
Well, he should be well aware at this point that the Common Fan Board of Directors is monitoring all activities. So take that for what it's worth,
man.
Take that for what it's worth.
You can do whatever you want to do, but hold on, let me check my mic here. CFIC. CFIC.
They're on to me.
Checking in.
I knew it.
They're on to him.
All right. Wrapping up this Northwestern Celebration Pod, we're going to hand out some corn cobs. What is a corn cob? It's the equivalent of a game ball. It is a recognition of a Husker player or players who had an outstanding performance in this Husker victory. So for the first ever corn cobs, Geoff, why don't you start us off? Geoff, you potluck hating little Irishman, you.
All right. I'll throw it out here right in front of all of you. I know defense wins championships, and that's the big phrase. Defense is I get it. It does win championships, but as not only a common fan, but as a casual fan of football, we like the glitz. We like the glamour. We like touchdowns. We like passes. We like last-second victories. We like things like that. So even though our defense is fantastic, I have to give my corn cob to my man Malachi Coleman simply because it looked sexy. It looked good. It was to the back of the end zone. The crowd was roaring. Everything that a casual football fan loves was all in that play. I can't get enough of it. I want more of it. I hope our offense gets better, but Malachi Coleman gets my corn cob for this week.
Oh, I love that. God, and he did look really good catching that ball. And you know what? I don't know if anyone's heard anyone mention this, but the way the sun was coming down over West Stadium, there was like he had the ball in shade, and then in sunlight. And there was no struggle at all whatsoever with him catching that ball. I mean, TJ, with your baseball background, when a hitter's at the plate and there's shadows and that pitcher's in the sunlight and the plate is in the shade, I think about the same kind of thing there. But he snagged that thing just like suction cups on the hands. That was a beautiful catch. Good pick, Geoff.
That's not easy. Great call, Geoff. And by the way, I love you, Geoff. Man, I mean, I take back everything I said. That was a fantastic speech. You should run for something, and you've got my vote.
Thank you.
The other thing about Coleman, guys, is he's a true freshman.
Yeah.
He was going to the prom. He was going to homecoming a year ago.
Right.
And so the future is bright there. But yeah, I mean, and then not only was it a great catch with the shadows and sunlight issue, he also beat the guy by a couple of.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's just a great athlete. So that's like the future is bright on that front. That was super exciting. I hope they can find, look. Like that's the thing. They've got Fedoni, they've got Coleman. Between Emmett Johnson and Anthony Grant, we've got 2 good running backs, and then Fleeks mixed in. Like, come on, baby, let's figure something out with this offense.
A couple other young receivers played a little bit too. That Doss, I think 85,
Jaden Doss,
and then 19. Is it Lloyd?
Yes. Yep.
At one point, we had like 5 or 6 freshmen in the huddle on offense, which. I'm
a
little nervous, but these kids are getting some good minutes.
Get these guys in there at this point. All right, MattyO, your corn cob.
All right, my corn cob. I checked with the Common Fan Board of Directors on this one, and they said I could split it between three guys. And we kind of referenced this earlier, but I want to call these guys by name because one of them I think has been just awesome this year and has been an awesome, pleasant surprise. So and that guy's Jabari Butler. I think him coming off the edge, number 10, athletic, plays aggressive. It's like, what's their phrase? RDV, relentless, disciplined, violent. That kid's doing it. So Butler, and then Prince Will, Uman, that guy was awesome too. I think he led us in tackles or was tied for the team lead in tackles and then had a sack and a half. He was awesome too. And then the guy that they brought up off of the practice squad, James Williams, number 90, Mr. Blue Gloves. That guy was awesome. Apparently, like I read somewhere they started calling him Mr. Sack in practice, and they're like, okay, let's see what this guy can do. I love that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, this guy's getting after it in practice and sacking. He's probably sacking our Harburg. And, if they're going ones on ones, they're like, let's give this guy a shot. And he delivered. He got a sack. So those three guys coming off the edge, I think is huge. And they're all, and I can't remember what year Williams is. I didn't look that up, but Butler and Uman, they're both freshmen or sophomores, I think. So these young guys that could potentially be starting for us for another 2-3 years, I think it's just super odd. I'm super encouraged by those guys.
Well, and hats off to defensive line coach Terrence Knighton. Potluck,
roast. Let's get all that.
You need a good pot roast at any good potluck. I'm just Googling this here, and James Williams is a sophomore.
There you go.
And he transferred from Northern Iowa, I believe. So
yeah.
But hats off to Pot Roast for saying, like, I mean, how many times have we heard about guys flashing on the practice squad in the last several years and you never see them?
Yeah.
And he puts them in a game with live bullets and the guy comes through. So, Pot Roast is going to bring his pot roast to the next potluck, and just really exciting stuff. Like you said, all three guys. And I can never pronounce Prince Will's last name.
But I know. I've been practicing on it. Uman Mielen.
Okay, that makes sense looking at how it's spelled. Also, I love the first name, Prince Will.
Yeah,
Prince Will is outstanding. Mm-hmm. All right, with I'm going to award.
Yeah, let's hear your corn cob tea.
Yeah, my corn cob goes to the polar bear.
Of course,
Nash Hutmaker. I mean, he looked like. Do you guys remember? I think it was Christian Peters' sophomore year, and it was like right before the run. It was like maybe 93. Maybe it was 94. But I think he was a sophomore against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma wasn't very good then, but it was a cold day after Thanksgiving game. And he just dominated that game. That's what Nash looked like to me yesterday. He looked like a guy who could not be stopped. And he just dominates the line of scrimmage. He exemplifies what it means to be a black shirt. And Geoff, you're right. Everybody loves touchdowns, but defense wins championships, or defense at the very least gets you to the Vandelay Industries Bowl. And so my corn cob goes to Nash Hutmaker, the polar bear. I'm so excited. I feel like this guy's going to be the anchor of the defense for the next 2.5 years. And I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love the guy. I've already talked about it. It gets me excited.
I mean,
I was going to say it too, if you can give an honorable mention, Tej. I know our offense didn't fire on all cylinders, but I will still give Heinrich credit where credit is due. I mean, that dude, does he know how to slide? Like, has he ever slid the entire That dude will lower his shoulder and take a hit.
Oh,
the only other person
and he took
that is Josh Allen.
He took a big one too.
He does not stop.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He's got a that too. And he scored.
Is he Heinrich Harburg or is he William Wallace? He's got the heart. He's got the heart of a warrior. And he's a great athlete. Obviously some things he needs to work on from the quarterback perspective, but he's what is he, 4-1 as a starter?
Yeah.
And the team plays hard for him. Absolutely love the kid. And native Nebraskan to boot. So
hey, can we do an honorable mention mini corn cob to Emmett Johnson, the freshman,
Yes.
Mr. Football in Minnesota.
Yeah, I was sure
Finally, we had a running back. Although it was only, I checked the stats, it was only by 1 yard. We had a running back lead us in rushing for once instead of Harburg. He had 73
nice.
yards, and Heine had 72. So we had a running back lead us in rushing.
Good.
Yeah,
he looks good.
Yeah.
He looks like a good combination of like kind of slippery and smooth and fast, but also powerful. And I mean, I feel like we've heard good things about this guy since he got to Nebraska, and he's never really quit, even when he's buried on the depth chart. And so I'm really excited to see him not only get his chance, but to flash when he does get his chance. So,
yeah, and he was protecting the ball too. He that one he gave up in Illinois, I saw he had both arms on it, crisscrossing them, and he wasn't letting that ball out.
No, that's right. That's right. We'll give mini corn cobs to William Wallace, aka Heinrich Harburg, and to Emmett Johnson as well. All right, boys, moving into Purdue week. This is the Sunday night after the Northwestern game. I think we're going to try to get this pod out yet tonight. So Northwestern recap, just huge win for the Huskers. Always important to beat those second-rate programs that we are and always will be better than. We took care of business. We swept the state of Illinois, Northern Illinois, University of Illinois, Northwestern University, fake NU. So I don't know what that means, but we'll take it.
On to the Bears. Bring on the Bears.
The Bears are next. Here's a really, really fun stat that I saw on the Twitters. Hats off to Elijah Herbal. Taylor Swift is dropping her album 1989.
She's infiltrated our pod.
Taylor's version.
She's everywhere.
Taylor's album. Yeah, Taylor's version.
It's like a from what I understand, it's a re-release the way like she wanted it or something. I don't know for sure.
I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend to know what it is. However, Purdue is 0-9 all time the week of a Taylor Swift album drop.
How about that?
And her album 1989 is scheduled to be released on Friday.
Just in time, baby. Thank you, T Swizzle.
You know, sometimes common fans, things just start rolling your way.
That's right.
Things just start going your way. All right. Congrats to the Huskers on a big win against Northwestern. They are now 4-3. The game against Purdue is on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. All three common fans predicted. Let's end on this. We all predicted the win against Northwestern. We predicted the next two as well. So we're still on the hook. We're still on the line. Hopefully, when we're doing this a week from now, we're talking about a 5-3 Nebraska team that just beat Purdue. Also, common fans, hold tight. Our next episode is going to be out in a couple of days, and it's going to be we're going to have our first ever guest on the Common Fan podcast. Somebody we're really excited about. We've already conducted the interview. Spoiler alert! And he gave us an hour. He spent an hour with us. Gave us just tons of insight into his career and some things that I think Husker fans are going to be really interested in learning about. And so hold tight for that, Common fans. Again, follow the pod. Follow the pod on Twitter at CommonFanGBR. Send us an email, commonfangbr@gmail.com. Make sure to follow/subscribe on your podcast streaming platform of choice. Boys, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I do have a final thought, TJ. This is
go for it, Matthew.
We are I don't know.
Coach Osborne, Coach Satterfield, go ahead and email us. We can send more play suggestions. No problem.
No, I as much as I'd like to give more play suggestions, I think the guys are okay. And I just want to say this has been a lot of fun doing this with you guys. And I don't know where this is going to take us, but I hope we can do it for as long as possible. And I'm really, really grateful to all the common fans out there for listening, subscribing, following. Ran into 3 buddies yesterday that I hadn't seen in a while. All told me they were listening to the pod and they loved it. And so everybody, we love you guys and keep listening, keep supporting. We're just enjoying the heck out of doing this.
Yeah, it's been great. And I'm honored to be a part of it. TG brought up William Wallace a little bit ago. Do you guys remember those old school VHS like double tapes for movies?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like,
of course.
Braveheart is like the one that sticks out of my head as the most, that was always sitting on like my parents' shelf. in the entertainment center in the basement. Like, that's the first thing I think of whenever somebody brings up William Wallace, is that old double tape Braveheart set in my parents' basement. Good call
I
on that one.
remember sometimes like especially if I had like a half day of school for whatever reason, which wasn't very often, I would like when we were sitting at home before football practice, would try to like fast forward on the VHS to find like the "they can take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom" speech, like right before high school football practice to try to get jacked up. So anyway, no, appreciate what both of you guys said, and I agree. We're having so much fun doing this. We're definitely getting a little bit of traction, which has been so much fun. But it's also just fun to talk Husker football with you guys, put it out into the world, and see how people react. So, on to the next one, guys. Purdue in less than a week.
Yes.
Huskers on track for a bowl game. GBR for life.
Go Big Red.
GBR.
Beat Purdue.